Right, so crime in rural Alberta has gotten pretty bad over the last little while. There was the case down south where the guy fired warning shots um, for people that were in his yard. I think they're trying to steal stuff, and the bullet ricocheted, hit one of the robbers, and he then got charged. And there was another case just last week where a guy who was actually people that my family knows had video, not video, I don't know if it was video or pictures of this guy stealing gas from their farm, and he was the guy who got in the shootout with the cops. I'm pretty sure the cops killed him. I don't know the exact details of the story, but um, things are getting pretty bad. Now, the first thing I'd point out is that for people that live in the city, they really don't understand it. There's this very big disconnect, which is why you see so many people that think gun control is such a great issue. That they have, number one, it's not even a good idea, even if you're in the city, but they don't understand that when you're in the country, a lot of times the cops are 20, 30 minutes away. And how many crimes take 20, 30 minutes to happen? Like almost none. Not only will the criminal be gone, but he'll be long gone. So the whole point being is that, like, I wanted to make a video basically going over what needs to be done. Now, the government has basically, their solution to it is to, they're gonna increase training for the police that are already, on duty. I've heard that they might increase the number of police, not by that very much, but they want to increase it. And the other thing that they want to do is reduce the liability. I don't know how exactly they worded it here. Um, where is it? It's in here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. Plan changes to the Occupiers Liability Act will eliminate owners' liability if they're protecting their property against trespassers who are breaking the law. Maximum fines for trespassing will be raised to 100,000, or sorry, 10,000 for the first violation, 25,000 for subsequent ones, plus jail time of up to 6 months. Yeah, so that's the one thing I would point out too, is that the reason why crime exists, crime like this is going on, is because the laws aren't designed to protect the people being, stolen from or whatever. The laws are, I mean, it's hard to put it this way, but they're designed to help the criminal. I mean, the gun control in Canada is way too strict. I mean, I've talked to people that, I mean, I don't live in the country anymore or in a rural area. I live in a suburb of a big city in Alberta, but I grew up in a small town. I grew up on a farm. I grew up in these areas. I still know a lot of people. And a lot of these people that I've talked to were never really pro gun. And a lot of them are like, yeah, we should probably, be able to defend ourselves more. Like the laws are way too strict. And it's very encouraging that people are changing their minds on this kind of stuff, because the other case is that friends of actually my grandparents, it was New Year's Eve. They were that was actually their garage that was robbed. Their house had a security system, and the guy came up to his house, rang the doorbell, obviously to check if they're home. And while he was there the whole time, they're not 100% sure, but they're pretty sure he had a handgun on him, because when he rang the doorbell, they have a doorbell camera for their security system, and he had his hand on the hip the whole time, and they could see a bulge. So that just in and of itself is number one. It's showing that the criminals don't care about the gun control. Like that's mandatory minimum 6 months in jail if you get caught doing that. But they don't care. They don't care. The big problem with a lot of these laws is that the laws are designed, they're not designed to go after the people that really need to be gone after. Now, one of the big reasons is if we did change the law, it would be viewed as disproportionately going after natives usually, but that would be the first problem, is that the left would be up in arms because a lot of these people, it's disproportionately natives that are doing this kind of stuff. Now, I'm not saying that it's just them. I'm just saying that as a percent of the population, they're a lot, very overrepresented, and the left would, there would be screams of racism if the laws were ever changed when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, but the one thing that needs to be done is the laws do need to be changed. Um, Number one, like we need harsher penalties for this kind of stuff, because clearly what's going on right now isn't nearly enough of a deterrent. If people are walking around with guns, stealing from people pretty much unabated, something needs to change. And the other big thing that needs to be changed is, And the one thing that I would bring into the whole Wexit argument, now I know it's a completely different point, but hear me out. One of the fundamental points is if we're going to have a Wexit, which I hope we do, we need a something similar to a Second Amendment in the states. At the very least, we need to get rid of the restricted PAL. These are my absolute minimums. We at the most or at the strictest, I would say have everything similar to how a non-restricted weapon is right now. Plus, people should have the ability to get concealed carry permits. I would say we should just scrap the whole thing in general and have like a constitutional carry where basically, as long as you're not a criminal, you can own a gun, you can carry it, you can defend yourself with it. Now, before people talk about how, oh, it would be chaos, well, constitutional carry states don't have higher murder rates than the average state in the US. So that whole, it'll be chaos if we allow people to carry guns without, going through the laundry list of permits and paperwork and all that kind of stuff. It's a fantasy. It's just an anti-gun fantasy. It's not actually true. But those are kind of the two big points that if the government actually really wanted to solve this stuff, I know they did make a decent first step in hiring more cops, providing increased training, and reducing the liability. I mean, reducing the liability is a huge one. Like if someone's on your property stealing stuff, I would say that after warning them to stop, you should be able to shoot them. Like I don't see how anyone can disagree with that, especially if you know that they've stolen from you multiple times because a lot of these farmers have cameras by their gas tanks, by their in their shops, their houses, all this kind of stuff. And it's the same, you can see it's the same truck all the time stealing from them. And I mean, what can you do? A lot of these people are armed. Like you're going to get in a gunfight with people. Like in that situation, I would say you should be able to come up on them, tell them to stop what they're doing, whatever, get on the ground. I'm calling the cops. If they go for their pockets, anything like that, you should be able to shoot them on the spot. I don't understand why that's so hard for people to find out. Like I say, people from the city, it's such a foreign concept to them because they've never been in a rural area in their life, most likely, and maybe they just drove through it, but they've never actually spent time, so they don't understand what it's like. It's like going to a third world country for the first time. It's such a culture shock. It's insane. But yeah, to sum it up, those are the two things that need to be done. The penalties for doing this kind of stuff needs to be increased. Like let's stop throwing people in jail for drug possession and not non-violent crimes. We should reduce penalties for that kind of stuff and increase penalties for this kind of stuff. And we need to give people the ability to defend themselves more because I've heard from a lot of people that aren't necessarily big into guns. Like I mean, I mean, I would say the majority of farmers own guns in rural Alberta. Some of them, a lot of them, it's under the table, not necessarily legal. But yeah, but the point being is that a lot of these people that don't own guns are even like, yeah, we need to get some guns, or maybe it's their husband or their boyfriend that own it, and they're women they're scared. Like a lot of these people say all the time, yeah, people come into my yard and just case the place and drive out. Like I hear that all the time. There was I think 3 or 4 robberies just within about a 10-minute, 15-minute drive of where my parents live last week. So things are getting pretty scary. But the problem is, I don't think any people are going to go for the solution that actually needs to be done, which is, like I say, we need to increase people's ability to defend themselves with weapons, and the laws need to be harsher for doing this kind of stuff because. Like I say, 6 months in jail for stealing from people. I mean, that's the maximum too. Like, that's nothing. Like, you know, I was told a story about a guy who he stole someone's truck. The cop he noticed him stealing the truck. The cops caught him. I mean he called the cops. The cops caught up with him luckily, and they had to literally put out the spike belt and all this kind of stuff to get him. And I don't know the guy personally, but some of my family does. And he was talking with the cops, and the cops were like, "Yeah, this guy will be out on the streets again in a week, maybe give it a month at the most." Like that's literally what the cops said, and that's insane. Like, why are we putting up with this kind of stuff? It makes no sense. So, yeah, I'll leave it there. I think I've got the point across pretty good. So, if you like the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.